There are lots of versions and variations of movies based on Burke and Hare, almost always horror films, British, German, Italian, French, American. And regardless, so I was interested in the subject. I go, sure. So I read the script, and I was very taken with their approach to it, which was to take truly loathsome characters. I mean, in real life, William Burke and William Hare were two Irish psychopaths, sleazebag, horror. I mean, they were terrible people who committed 16, perhaps 17, really cold-blooded murders to sell their bodies to Dr. Knox and other doctors. But the script's attitude was to turn them into romantic heroes, which I thought was very perverted and very funny. I like the idea of taking, well, I said this is taking Charles Manson and making him Sidney Carlton, which I really kind of thought was funny. So I said to Barnaby, I think this is interesting. I like this a lot. I think you could make a really unusual movie out of it. Ealing Studios produced some of the better dark comedies that have been made. I mean, they had a run of pictures like Kind Hearts and Coronets and The Lady Killers that were really dark. I mean, you know, The Lady Killers ends with the entire cast murdering one another. And Kind Hearts and Coronets has the very elegant and charming Dennis Price committing a number of murders. And they're shown as amusing. And so I like that. I was trying to capture that Ealing tone. You know, the great Alec Guinness. I mean, the Ealing had amazing performers, and I was hoping to sort of capture that very dark quality. But it's very elegant, too. I mean, they made, I mean, one of the things about Kind Hearts and Coronets I've always adored is how elegant it is. It's very much like rich chocolate. You know, but then you think about the plot, and you know, it's pretty grim, but very funny and very involving, and you have great sympathy for the murderer. And in this case, I have two Irish immigrants who are sort of lowlifes, hustlers, and they find a way to make money. What attracted me in the script was it's taking a very dark subject and treating it with great wit and style. I'm hoping to recapture it. I mean, the movie, you know, the humor and tone is a difficult thing when you're dealing with. It's a lot easier when you're dealing with the supernatural. People always quote an American Werewolf in London movie I made that they always quote about the horror and the humor. Well, that movie is a horror film. This movie is not a horror film. But they both deal with grisly things. This deals with vivisection and dissection and grave robbing. I mean, it's interesting because what the approach I like of Burke is I don't think Burke is immoral. I think he's amoral, which is actually worse. But he's just looking for a main chance. You know, he says in the film, he says they can't blame us for trying to make a living, you know. My intention, I mean, what I wanted to bring to it was to take Burke and Hare, and I've said this before, but I really wanted to make them kind of the evil Laurel and Hardy, because Laurel and Hardy are so damn sweet, you know, so sympathetic, and that's what I was hoping. And I have to say that Andy Serkis and Simon Pegg, to me, they pulled it off. I think they're wonderful and wonderful together. I think they're both fine actors. What's different for Andy is Andy Serkis has mostly played sinister characters or grotesque or, you know, golems or King Kong. I mean, he's done a lot of motion captures. He's doing it right now. He's playing an ape again for the Planet of the Apes prequel they're shooting. But he is a wonderful actor. In fact, what sold me on Andy, truthfully, was I saw the Ian Drury movie, and I've seen him in a number of things. But when I saw Topsy Turvy, is a movie, Mike Leigh's movie, that I adore that movie. And I watched it again, and I didn't realize Andy was even in it. He's the very gay French choreographer, and he's terribly funny in it. And I thought, hey, and in this I think he's very funny. I think that and again, Simon has come to acting through stand-up and then sketch comedy and stuff, but Simon's a terrific actor. I mean, a much better actor than he knows even. I mean, he's a terrific actor and a pleasure. Dude, I really enjoyed working with him. He's wonderful. He's going to have a huge career. He's so likable. I mean, he already has a big career, but I think he's going to be here for a while. Ronnie Corbett is someone I was excited. I thought, how about Ronnie Corbett? And they thought, what? And I think he's wonderful. I'm thrilled with him. And then there are a lot of people I've just been a fan of. Paul Whitehouse, I think, is just a terrific actor. And he was shooting his series at the time, so I couldn't, I asked Paul, could you get it? And he couldn't do anything. He couldn't block days. So he finally said, I could probably give you one night. So I grabbed it, and I think he's very funny in the movie. And Bill Bailey, I cast as an actor not knowing he was a big famous comic. And we go,